All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of 12 Gauge Uncut. I have with me the most hated man in Georgia and Alabama wrestling history, possibly, Shawn Ambrose. Welcome, Shawn.
Yes. Hell doth frozen over, Rocky. I've made it to the 12 Gauge podcast.
Yes, you have finally made it. Your career is now complete.
Yep, I can retire.
So, man, this has been an interesting little thing. We launched your schedule opened up. So for some of you who didn't know, I teased this and was planning on running it Friday, maybe Saturday, airing it, but your schedule opened up a little faster than we expected. So we are bringing you the hottest news live. So Shawn, you made a big announcement this week that's kind of I guess this weekend, really, wasn't it? What is it? Or was it Monday?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay. So this week's going by faster than I thought.
Yeah.
So big announcement yesterday. Some people obviously didn't get it all the way. So I'll let you kind of address that and make that announcement again publicly for them in vocal form. And then kind of tell us, I guess, where you want to lead us from right that point on right there, and we'll kind of pick up on some other questions.
Sure. Okay. So yesterday, well, let me just back up a little bit. Most people don't know the amount of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to put on a wrestling show. Unless you've done it, you really don't know. And it's mainly the time. It's the time that it takes to do it right. And we at prime time, we had set such a high standard for our show that we had to put a certain amount of time into it to make sure that we put on the show that we know that we're comfortable saying that was a great show. That's we're always going for the perfect show. Nobody ever has that, but we definitely strive for it. And what it turned out, our management team, we realized that since starting prime time, our professional lives changed. Our real, our day jobs. Some of us, started working different jobs that took time away from preparing for the wrestling show. And personally, there's some personal things that entered people's lives that also took that attention away from the wrestling show. And when you can't put the show on that you want to put on, the best thing to do is don't do it. My daddy always said, if you're going to do something, don't do it halfway, go all the way with it. And that's the way I've always done everything. So in my job, I travel a lot for my job. And that wasn't the case, not so long ago. Our management team, lots been going on with those guys. I'm not going to get into their personal business, but it long story short, the time and effort it took to put into putting on a quality primetime wrestling show was getting smaller and smaller, and it reflected in the product. So we decided that if we can't put out a near perfect product, then we just need to shut it down. And that's what we did. Now, I will say this. Developments since yesterday, the owner, who does not want to be named, and I will 100% respect this person's wishes because I have the utmost respect for him and everything that he has done in this industry. He is the one that started Primetime the mastermind behind it, the one who just he put everything into it and created it, and then we all with our separate talents made it what it is. He's saying maybe it's not over. Now, I don't know what that means, because I'm officially giving my resignation, because I'm one of those people in management that I need that time. I need to spend it with my family. I got a new grandbaby. Job is demanding. I need to be spending time on that. So I have resigned from primetime for sure. Will primetime continue? Man, I hope so. We didn't stop because we weren't drawing, Rocky. We were drawing good. Hell, we were selling out shows in Gadsden several times. So it's not the fact that we weren't drawing. It was just it was really a time management issue. But hey, maybe it's not over. Maybe the owner's going to drop back and punt, and maybe you'll see primetime in the future.
Absolutely. And you had going back, the early days of primetime, hell, I got hit with a roll of quarters there in the very first two, I guess, matches that happened in primetime.
Yep, D Money.
D Money, yes, I'm a bastard. So,
Yep.
But it's went on to, you've had stars like Zero, you've had the Kevin Rhines, the champion, Big Andy Toner has held the title for a long time. Mr. Atlanta 2 was former champion, then Cyrus the Destroyer.
Yep.
So primetime already had a pretty good legacy going on for its championship history there going on. You had a incredible, probably, I don't know that anybody in the area, maybe other than Southern Honor, and I haven't been there, had a video set up like primetime did. So the interesting,
we had the best entrance in Georgia. There's no doubt about it. It was and you have to have and let me say this, because I'm here to clear up a lot of misconceptions today too. Shawn Ambrose has not, was not, and will not be, nor has he ever been, the owner of Primetime Wrestling. I'm giving you straight up facts. This is not some wrestling storyline business. I'm telling you straight up what's going on. I did not. I'm part of the management team. I was the promoter. That's what I do. I promote. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. I have that skill set. We had a booker. That booker, he booked. We had a shot caller. He called the shots. And we had an owner, and everybody had a job. My job was promoter. At no time was I in charge of Primetime Wrestling. Most people think that it was always me. And it wasn't. I was part of a team. I'm part of a damn good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Some of those guys, I won't mention any names either, were definitely the best of the business, and I learned a lot from as well. So I'm in much of my respect to those guys. Well, let's start back. Let's kind of, a lot of people don't know, me and you got to know each other a lot over the years. And, I would have to say, we, much like brothers, we've been able to put things aside. We've gotten fights and arguments and everything else before, but I don't know anybody in this business who hasn't went through that anyway.
Oh yeah.
So,
look, my moniker, nickname, whatever they call it, the most hated man in wrestling, I earned every letter of that moniker. And that's not a heel thing. That's not the fans hate me thing. I mean, yeah, the FAFO thing ran good, and I had fans throwing bottles at me in Gadsden, and I mean, it was NWO style stuff. They were throwing shit at me, and it was great. But the most hated man in wrestling title, really, I've earned more from speaking, saying things out loud that other people were thinking. and not being afraid to say them, because a lot of people will not say things because they're afraid if they do, they're not going to get booked here, they're not going to get booked there, somebody's going to get mad at them. And me, I've never cared about that. I've always spoke the truth. I've always said what was on my mind, and that rubbed other promotions wrong. That rubbed the wrestlers wrong. I mean, I got a list of people that they say they will never work with me, but I've talked to them, and I've actually booked some of them that said they'd never work with me, but since then. But I am honest to a fault, without a doubt, especially when it comes to wrestling. And I'm going to say things that people are not going to like or and probably not agree with, but I'm still going to say them. And that has given me that title. The wrestlers don't like me. A lot of the fans don't like me. Legit don't like me because of some of the things I've said. And it is what it is. I'm just I guess if I ever have I don't anticipate having a legacy. I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm a nobody in wrestling. And but if my legacy is going to be anything, it's going to be that I pissed a lot of people off in the industry, and with the things that I said, and I was unapologetic about it.
Yeah. So, let me ask you a question. Maybe you're just like me, but does any of all that hate that you're getting from all these people, does it keep you up at night?
I sleep like a baby every night. Listen, wrestling, I love wrestling. I have been a fan of wrestling since the very first WrestleMania. I don't even know what WrestleMania we're on right now, but I've been a fan of wrestling since the very first WrestleMania. I watched it. I loved it. I was on the trampoline with my friend Chad. We're wrestling in the front yard. We are, we're in Madison Square Garden, but we're sitting over on in the white hood. We were one step away from the trailer park, but we were in Madison Square Garden when we were on that trampoline in the front yard. So, and I had my wrestling action figures and all that stuff. And I used to promote my own shows with book my own shows with my action figures and things. So this all was going to happen. I just didn't know it then. But I never let what people think of me affect my sleep at all. Yeah. I sleep like a baby. People can hate me all they want. And what's great is they don't understand that their words and hatred and things that they say to me and about me, it tears them up. It tears them up. It affects me not one bit. It's entertaining to me sometimes. I call it therapy. It's entertaining to deal with people like that. And sometimes it gets old and I don't deal with it much. But at the same time, it's you guys that are haters of Shawn Ambrose, it doesn't affect me at all. It affects y'all, and it's funny to me that it does, because honestly, Rocky, I've said this to you before too. Me, you, anybody, wrestlers, whatever, we are only relevant and we are only popular and famous within the confines of four walls on any given Saturday night in any given town. Absolutely. Usually in front of about 150 to 200, maybe if you're lucky, 300 people. That's and when you think about the fact that Floyd County alone has 75,000 people in it, and we're popular amongst about, on average, 200 to 300 people. People take this too serious, man. It's fun. I have a ball doing it, but at the end of the day, it's still wrestling.
Yeah. Okay, I smile. It's only gonna happen once, guys. Well, if we're kind of following through on that, and we're not going to mention any names, but just so the fans know that the people that were anticipating when I posted this for Shawn had maybe an hour of headway that we posted this online that we were going to go ahead and do it tonight.
Yep.
And we have already gotten requests not to do the podcast with Shawn, told if we talked about certain promotions that we would have lawsuits levied against us tonight. So, obviously these people can't be Trump supporters because they're like trying to kill the First, Second, Third Amendment, everything that's in between.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's just, so we won't say, I will tell you this, nothing will be said here tonight between me and Shawn that isn't true. So
Yeah.
we will probably
You can fact check us.
You can fact check us 100%. So with that being said, Shawn, remind us back to the beginning. Let's talk about TNA. That's where you kind of started this whole wrestling journey. Let's start there.
Yep. So, yeah, my wrestling journey in promoting, my journey in promoting started in 2007 in the Georgia Blues Brothers band that I was a part of. So I was the promoter for our band whenever we had a show. I promoted the show, that sort of thing. And then I can't even remember now how I even got in contact with TNA Wrestling. But I think I emailed them one day and I said, hey, we've got this great arena in Rome, Georgia, and it seats about 3,000 people. We used to have WCW Saturday night in there, and I think it'd be a great arena for TNA to come do a show. And so they called me and they said, yeah, I think that would be great. Would you be interested in helping us promote the show? And I'm like, well, hell yeah, that'd be awesome. All I was doing was trying to get them to town. So the first show we had, I can't remember who all was there, but I know Rob Van Dam was there, Jeff Jarrett, Luke Gallows, a lot of those guys was there. Sold it out. And they immediately, because at that time TNA was not drawing well in house shows, to sell out 3,000 seat arena for a house show for TNA, man, they were ecstatic. They couldn't wait to come back. So it was just a few months later they were ready. We already had the next date ready. So they're coming with the next date. They're bringing other people. They're bringing Kurt Angle. They brought Jarrett back. They brought Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And again, sold it out. And I got to thinking, because at that time, Mid-South Memories was the only fan fest in the country that was bringing in the old wrestlers that I grew up with to get autographs and pictures and things like that. And I'm like, well, dang, I think I can do that. I mean, it doesn't seem that difficult. So I got with the forum and started talking to them, and I knew the manager real well. And I decided, well, we're going to start doing a fan fest. And we're going to call it Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest. I was able to run it as Superstars of Wrestling Fan Fest for 3 years, I think, before somebody messaged me and said they own that name. And I was like, I looked it up. I couldn't believe anybody owned it, but somebody did. It wasn't Vince McMahon either. It was some promoter up in Wisconsin I've never heard of. But anyway, we changed it to Superstars Fan Fest at that point. But 2 or 3 cease and desist letters from Vince McMahon later, because I was using pictures that they claimed they owned. We're about 3 or 4 fan fests deep, and I'm drawing over 1,000 people every time we do a fan fest. I was doing them annually, and had people like Ric Flair and Jake Roberts, Scott Hall and X-Pac and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Mick Foley. I mean, you name a WWE Hall of Famer, and I've probably booked them. And for years and years, that's all I did. I did once a year, I did Superstars Fan Fest. And one day, I got a phone call from someone that said, hey, Todd Zane is trying to get a hold of you. And I was like, Todd Zane, the guy from WCW, Todd Zane, because I used to watch him, every on 605 on Saturday nights. But yeah, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay, well, and they gave me his phone number. I didn't call him because I was thinking it was bullshit. About a year later, somebody said, hey, Todd's trying to get a hold of you. I was like, all right, fine. So I called Todd, and I called him, and he said, hey, I'm booking this show called KLT in Rome, and was wondering if you'd be interested in coming on board with us and being our promoter. And we need a general manager. So would you be interested in doing that? And I was like, well, I mean, I've never done anything like that before. I've only done Fan Fest. I've never done indie wrestling. So I said, yeah, I'll come do it. I'll do it until it's not fun anymore. Because there's, contrary to popular belief, there ain't a whole lot of money in pro wrestling. God bless these guys that get in the ring and destroy their bodies for the amount of money that they get, because they're doing it for the love. And I will be the greatest defender of the boys from every time somebody does them wrong. I proved that a few months back when they didn't get paid at a show, and nobody else spoke up. Even the boys didn't speak up, but I did. And I called a lot of hell for it. But you know what? That's kind of my thing. So I took it.
Yeah.
So I went to KLT, and there was the building looked like shit. The when you come out to the fans, you came out to through a ripped up curtain with glitter on it, and it was bad. It looked bad, and there was probably about 50, 60, 70 people in there, depending on the night. You know, when I first got there, and so I got in there and kind of got my feet wet and started learning, you know, how a promotion is run. And I started getting with the owner there, and I was like, "Hey, we need to spend some money. Let's put up an entrance here. Let's put some lights in here. Let's get some fog going. Let's make this thing look good. You know, let's do something to make it look professional." So he did. He pretty much opened his wallet up and bought everything needed, and we built this big version 1 of the entrance that eventually became the entrance at primetime. It wasn't bad. It looked good. It looked better than a ripped up glittery curtain. And with that and the booking that we had going on, bringing in these guys that had just finished training over at Robert Gibson's school, we brought in Zach Mosley, who's a hell of a wrestler. He's a bumping machine. And Zach's one of those guys that don't like me, but I'll put him over in a heartbeat. He's a damn good wrestler. Zero, who actually does like me, and his tag team partner, when they were a Reality Check, they were in there. Several others, and we built a roster and pissed a lot of the old guys that was there before off, because we were trying to turn KLT into something legitimate, right? That wasn't just another, you know, outlaw show. And we did. We went from a ripped up glittery curtain walking out to about 50 people to a nice entrance with ring lights, averaging 350 to 375 every show twice a month. And we did that for about 2 or 3 years. It was great. That was the golden age of KLT. And it wasn't that good before then, and it hasn't been that good since. And I loved it. KLT was great. Shawn Ambrose character was great. I literally sold, how many was it? I think 500 t-shirts over the course of about 3 years, like this one. I mean, Shawn Ambrose shirts. People believed it, liked my character so much they bought a t-shirt. And I wasn't even a wrestler. I was out selling all the wrestlers in merch.
Yeah, that's a popular thing. I have spoken.
Yeah, I have spoken turned into, I mean, I would go out there and I would say, my name is Shawn Ambrose, and everybody would shout it back to me. I have spoken. I didn't have to say it. It was, you know, nobody was selling merch at that time either. And I went in there and I was like, guys, I'm the general manager. I'm selling t-shirts like crazy. Y'all should go get some merch. And they started doing it, and they were making money.
Yeah.
And that's where the wrestlers make their money. It ain't the money they make to get in the ring. That ain't where they make their money. They make their money on the merch. And Rocky, you know that better than anybody.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so, you merch is where it's all at. If you're going to make the money, you're never going to make it in the ring.
Yeah, yeah. So KLT, we went gangbusters for a long, long time. Then, I believe, just based on what I've been told, because nobody's ever going to, the thing about the wrestling business is a lot of people's going to talk about you, but nobody's going to do it to your face.
Oh, no.
So everything that I heard was the inner circle around the owner, and I'm trying not to use names. It ain't about that. I'm telling my story. The inner circle around the owner started getting pissed because we had come in, me, Todd, War Daddy, we had come in and we took the little outlaw show that was KLT and we turned it into the most attended wrestling show in all of Georgia. And they didn't like that. They didn't want that. In fact, they even said they didn't want that. They just wanted to have fun. They didn't want it to be a business. It ain't about a bunch of people there. It was just about everybody getting together and having a good time. Well, you tell that to the owner that kept coming and saying he wasn't making enough money. Because once he started making a little bit of money, now it turned into money because, hey, that's why we do what we do, right?
Correct.
So when that happened, they did what they're good at, and they have run people off because they can. It is a strange dynamic there that that at that time where the inner circle had all the power. They weren't gonna fire you. They weren't gonna tell you had to leave, but they would make life so miserable that you didn't want to be there anymore. And like I said at the beginning of this, I told Todd, I will be here until it's not fun anymore. And it became not fun anymore. And I was ready to leave. Ironically, Todd was as well. We all had gotten to the point where it was impossible to deal with the owner. It was impossible because we could never get him on the phone, mainly. We couldn't talk to him. We couldn't text with him. He would never respond to anything. And you can't run a promotion that way because we can't do what we're doing without information from the owner. And if the owner is not communicating, then we can't, we've stopped. We've hit a ceiling. So we all got together one day and decided that at the Georgia Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame show that year was going to be our last show, and we were going to walk away. And we were going to meet at the Primetime Wrestling's owner's house on the back porch, and we're going to discuss starting our own promotion. You were there.
I was there.
And we left KLT to do what we knew we could, to put together a show that we know we could put together, that we know could, our vision. We wanted to put our vision out there for people to see. And so we got together on that back porch and we all agreed to do it. And we all had our jobs and we all did our jobs and we came up with the name and we went with it and ran with it for 2 years. We've been doing primetime wrestling, selling out shows here, there, and everywhere. And we're leaving on a high note. We're leaving on our own terms. I'm leaving on my own terms, and I'm leaving on a high note. If the owner starts it back up, then that's great. And I told him that today. I'm like, man, if you want to start it back up, I think that's great. I can't be a part of it because I just can't do it anymore, not right now. But I hope all the best for you, and I'll help in any way I can from a distance. But yeah, that's my journey. And yeah, I pissed a lot of people off along that journey. If I walk into the promotion in Rome, I'm told that they're going to break my legs. So
I recently got told that too.
Yeah, I need my legs, so I'm not going to do that. It's funny to me, but they take it serious. I don't. It's hilarious and it stresses them out, which makes me laugh even more.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm going to iterate just not to go back on that. So the problem you were talking about is still the reoccurring problem with that promotion in speaking is that you can't get to the owner doesn't have time. He's too busy. And you have to go through basically a henchman that's never been in wrestling before or never worked for wrestling before at all, in or out of the ring.
I've heard that.
So, you know, we're not going to go into details there, but yeah, that's a huge problem when you're having to go through someone to get an answer that doesn't even know what you go through to get into the business to begin with.
Right.
So, and again, from the boys' perspective, and me and you share a common trait here, was whatever we do it to our best of our ability. And if it carries our stamp, then we want to control that quality level that the fans get. And the fans get every penny that they put in from us that they're worthwhile.
I'm glad you said that, because that brings me back to a point that I had almost forgot about. One of the big reasons that I left KLT was there was decisions being made that involved promoting, that were being done. That we had an image, we had a template that we were running with. We had, we weren't going to put just anything out there. Everything needed to be put together in a particular way to meet the brand of KLT. We'd built a brand, and someone decided to do something that was not conducive to moving the brand forward. And I spoke up about it, and this person got very upset with me, and I spoke my mind to this person, and this person to this day don't like me, and I don't particularly. There's not a lot of people in the world I don't like, and I don't mind this guy because, again, I enjoy the entertainment value that's provided with the stress level that he incurs when my name is mentioned. But he was one of the inner circle guys, and once that happened, it moved to the next guy, and before long we were all pushed out. So people started getting in other people's lanes that didn't need to get in those lanes.
Absolutely. So there's a question: can this person that we're not mentioning, can he write in complete sentences that you can understand?
No, but he can write in capital letters.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Well, Shawn, look at your screen.
Can't understand a thing that's being typed. But yeah, large letters, rambling. Yeah. I think we got the same guy.
Gotcha. Well, okay, look at your screen. We got a question here from Russ Atkins. I'm going to let you read this and you can address him yourself.
Okay, great. You know what? Can we hold that question for just a second? Give me just a minute. My phone's about to die, and I still got a lot to say.
Okay.
Let me get my phone plugged in, and you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, got Shawn here live, and we're talking, so he's getting his charger because apparently we're draining that battery down. We're about 33 minutes in. I hope y'all are enjoying the podcast. Yeah, he not so subtle, right? Stu Bailey there. I'll give Stu a shout out. One of the veterans that kind of gave me a lot of advice, and he said that he was my daddy earlier, but he probably did daddy me in on wrestling and taught me a few things. And his fat ass stood on my chest one time before too, and that wasn't too comfortable. But so we're kind of bringing that in here, and Savannah's still eating there. Hey, Savannah. Miss Diane Rose, hello. Thank you for joining us.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, pop that question back up, because I needed to touch on that too. There's so much. Really, this could be a several-part mini-series.
All right. Here you go.
All right, so it says, Shawn Ambrose, what's it going to take to get NAWA to engage with Primetime? I think we can say it's obvious you want that smoke. What's the end game? I want the smoke. I want to eat smoke, man. I want to walk away from that shit. So let's talk about that. Yeah. 2 promotions in one town. All right. When Primetime started, we were we were going to travel. We're not going to stay in one spot. We're going to move around. So our first show was in Center, Alabama. And we stayed at the Center Community Center for a few shows. And then we moved on. We did some shows in Cave Spring. We did them in Rome. We did them in Gadsden. So we've been up everywhere. And we had put out a schedule for Primetime for like the year. We put our year as here's where we're going to be this year. And it was the next day. It was right after NAWA had went to Dillard's that they said, hey, here's our schedule. And I'll be damned if it wasn't every date that we were running in Rome they were going to run to. All right, so here's the dumbass view of that. Number one, from a money, business, financial standpoint, 2 promotions in one town running the same night is suicide. Because even if you outdraw the other promotion, which we did, even if you outdraw the other promotion on that night, you have cut your audience in half. So what's the purpose other than to feed your fragile ego to run against another show? It was my opinion that we don't run against them. We ended up doing it one time. I proved a point. We outdrew them. And I said, all right, we're not doing this again. Because even though we outdrew them, we only broke even. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our dates. We're not going to play this pit. We're not going to have a pissing match with these people. We're just going to change our dates. And we had it laid out perfect for 2024. We were every other week. We were 1 week in Rome, 1 week in Gadsden, 1 week in Rome, 1 week somewhere else. I mean, it was laid out perfect. Well, by the time I went back to change the schedule with the fairgrounds where we were running, we couldn't do that. The fairgrounds had booked those dates that we needed to run so that we were running the other weekend that NAWA was running. So we had to, instead of running once a month in Rome, it became like once every couple months in Rome. Or we'd run twice in 1 month in Rome, and then we wouldn't run Rome for 2 months. And the inconsistency was not, it was there. There was no consistency. That was the problem. And it all came about because of those folks over there. They just said, well, we're just going to run against them. And all you did was you cut your audience in half. You cut our audience in half. And if we had done it, if we kept doing it, then why cut your audience in half? So Dillard's did well. You know, they had what they said it was 1,000 people, which was bullshit. We all know that. Even the wrestlers that was there, it was like, I don't know why they said that. It wasn't 1,000. There was about 350 to 400. And I'm like, hell, that's a good house. I'd have took that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'd announced that I'd have shouted that from the rooftops. We had 400s. That's a hell of a house.
Yeah.
Why lie about it? But they've done that multiple times. That's kind of the running joke I had at the last show. We're going to be in front of 3,000 people, and then the next day it turned into 30,000 people, and the next day it was 300,000 people, and it was, come on, man, don't lie to the fans. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
So we kind of got the idea. It was like, all right, look, I think we can work together. What if we combined Primetime and NAWA not as companies, but we run a storyline between the two shows. That way, when they run, we will, our fans will go to them, and when we run, their fans will come to us. And at the end of the story, both shows have increased attendance because the fans can see us working together, and they can see that both products are worth going to see. So we pitched that, and we pitched that not once, not twice, not three, but 4 times over 2 years. We pitched it to. They've had 1, 2, 3. I think they're on their 3rd or 4th booker since we left in 2 years. We pitched it to every booker except for the one that's there now, and it got shot down. I don't think it was shot down by the bookers. I think it was shot down by the inner circle. But it was the attendance on those shows would have been astronomical because you already had embedded real heat because the old guard at KLT left and started primetime. Now we're going to have KLT versus primetime at both shows in a blended storyline. Oh my God, it's perfect. And it got shot down 4 times. We tried 4 times. They never came to us. You'll remember Ricky came to a show, and I think it was Center, Alabama. That was during the time we were talking about doing this. I think it was the first time, and I think we had him sold on it. And then by the time he had the people getting his ear over there, it quickly ended. So yeah, no, NAWA in primetime would have been a hell of a program that we could have run, an invasion angle type thing, but it didn't pan out, and unfortunately, it's not going to.
Yeah, and that's a shame because a lot of it, I mean, we see the comments in here, and
I can't read them. They're coming up so fast. I'm not.
Oh, sorry. So a lot of people. So Matt here said we were waiting on an invasion, and they really were. I think the crowd was waiting on those two, to have that NWO style, invasion or DX, rolling up there. So unfortunately,
if you'll remember, I don't know if you remember this or not. I was not a part of this. I was, I think I was working out of town that weekend. I couldn't make it anyway, but we had Mr. Atlanta 2, his manager, and somebody else came to a KLT show, came in the front door, got in the ring, invasion style, and what was supposed to be the start of all this. And they left, and the people in the back were like, why are they here? Who are they? Why are they here? Why are they back? Who told them they could be here? Well, Ricky told them they could be there. But what happened was Ricky didn't communicate that information to the booker, who desperately needs that information if he's going to run the show. And then the inner circle got involved, and that literally began and ended that night. But we tried 3 more times, and it still didn't happen. Shoot, I was about to go up there when we did the FAFO angle, and we brought Rob Adonis and Chris Kamikaze on board. My idea was this. I said, who is the one person that they never expect to see walk into a KLT building or NAWA building? And it's Shawn Ambrose. And if I walked in there, those people would go crazy, not cheering but booing, because I know they don't like me, because they're all followers of that promotion. And I talked to Chris. I'm like, what do you think about this? I'll come manage you. In fact, you'll just be in the ring. You'll be doing your thing, and I'll come out of nowhere. And, oh, my God, it'd be great. It's going to get a huge pop. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I ended up getting talked out of it by our management because those guys are so hard to deal with. It could be misconstrued. So that didn't happen. But that was real close to happening the show after Chris and Rob was in Rome and joined the FAFO.
Boy,
So there's so many awesome moments that were so close to happening that it just didn't happen because that they're just not that easy. They don't like us because we left, and because I've been quite vocal about some of the things that they've done and said over the years. And we don't like them simply because we can't communicate with them.
Yeah, and it's sad. The problem is all these great ideas are there, and the people that pay for this are the fans. They don't get what they want because we can't get past to giving them what they want because people want their version of the wrestling show. Kind of like you said earlier, it's almost like they want to be able to play dress up and it be all their, their show. It's all for them, really. It's not for the fans.
Yes, that's what that was where we ran into a brick wall, or the ceiling is what I saw. We got to break that ceiling so we can go higher. That's when we went and started Primetime. But it was at the point where, we don't want all that. We don't want, hell, we had just had a fan fest with over 1,000 people there that featured KLT. And you were there.
Yes.
You were in the cage with Big Dog. And I was in there with you. And
you had to adjust the collar around my big ass neck.
Yes, exactly. And coming off a huge night. And the year before that, we had a sold out crowd at the Fan Fest of 800 and something people at KLT Arena because it was COVID and nobody would rent a building to me. And I've been trying to get that show off the ground for 2 years because of various reasons, but mainly because of COVID. And I thank Ricky for that. Ricky gave me that building. He didn't charge me rent. In exchange, I did donate $1,000 to his church. I have never told anybody that. The only person that knows that is me and Alfred Little. I never told a soul that. Tonight I'm telling everybody that. Yet everybody's like, Ricky's been so good to you. He gave you free rent. Yeah, he gave me free rent. And I appreciate it. I also donated $1,000 to his church. I did that because I wanted to. Mean old Shawn Ambrose went and gave $1,000 to a church. When we left, there was one person in particular. He got on Facebook, and he said something to the effect of, last year there was 800 people showed up for a KLT show, and this year 1,000 people showed up for a KLT show, and it had nothing to do with the Fan Fest and had everything to do with KLT. And I was like, are you a fucking idiot? Yes, I love my KLT brethren. And what we had done there and all that. And we had good matches, great matches. We had a casket match, all kind of shit. It was great. We had a KLT match, a Kendo's ladders and tables match at the one before that. It was it was great matches with great talent from KLT. But come on, man. They were not there to see that. They were there to see the Four Horsemen.
Yes.
The first year. They were there to see Jake the Snake Roberts that time after that. Plus, not just those guys, but each show had 15 to 20 other Hall of Famers and former WWE, WCW wrestlers there. So to say that was all KLT is very factually incorrect. I wanted KLT to be a part of it because I love those guys and I love what we were doing there. And then after we left, of course, it became, they weren't there for that, and we don't care nothing about that. We just want to have fun. It ain't about, packing the place out. And I'm like, yeah, it is. That's everything. You can't continue running a promotion. That brings me to something else. You got a real easy job tonight, Rocky, because you're not having to talk much. Running a promotion in 2024. In 1990, you could go to a indie show and pay $10 for a ticket. 30 years later, you go to an indie show and you pay $10 a ticket. Adjusted for inflation, because I did it on the inflation calculator on the IRS website, Adjusted for inflation, a $10 ticket in 1990 is $22.50 in 2024. A general admission ticket should be $22.50 for an indie show, adjusted for inflation. Should they charge that? No. I mean, that's a lot for a ticket. I agree, but the norm should be $15 general admission. Front row should be $20 to $25. The problem is if you go above that $10, and I've tried this, and like I said, you can fact check me because I'm fixing to give you stats that I know personally I've done. I did at primetime. We did $20 front row, $15 second row, $10 general admission. We sold out front row every show. We sold out front row every show before the show ever opened, before the doors ever opened. We sold 3 tickets on the second row for $15. Everybody else bought the $10 ticket. So we had, when it was on camera, you had a front row that was full, you had a second row that was empty, and then you had third row back that was full. I was like, well, they're not going to pay $15 for a ticket. So we went to $15 front row, $10 general admission, and we stuck with that. But the problem is, in 1990, rent on a building was half what it is now. In 1990, you didn't necessarily need event insurance to run a wrestling show. Now you do, and that's $250. In 1990, your advertising was half what it is now. You could run radio ads in 1990. You can't do that now. It's too expensive. So to promote a show properly and pay the guys at least somewhere near a respectful amount of money for them to wrestle and throw their bodies around like that. I mean, you can't do it charging $10 a ticket. So the question comes up, well, then why don't you raise the ticket price? And here's the answer to that. You can't, because the fans will revolt. You'll go from having 200 people in a show to 50, 7,500 people in a show if you start charging $15 or $20 to go watch an indie show. They're not going to do it. And because of that, and not saying that they're not going to do it, that might be a bad way of putting it. A lot of them can't do it. From a financial standpoint, you only got so much money, right? And a $10 ticket, I can take my family, that's $40. But if I'm taking my family and I got to pay $20 a ticket, now that's $80. And I mean, to be honest, let's go, Brandon. We ain't got that kind of money anymore. So the fans have really turned running a wrestling promotion from being a business that you can profit. And actually, I mean, back in the 90s, you made money. You could make a living off of running a promotion. You can't do that in 2024. Your goal is to break even. So if your goal is to break even on a show and you put 2 weeks worth of promoting on Facebook and editing videos and making graphics and hanging posters, and then you show up the day of the show literally 8 to 10 hours before the door opens so you can put up the ring and you can set up the chairs and you can build this immaculate entrance and get the concession stand up and running, all that stuff before the doors even open. And you're doing all that work. You're giving up your time with your family so that you can break even.
Yeah.
The guys come in, they wrestle, they're going to get their money. There's been several wrestlers that has come to me that has started their own promotion that had never run a promotion before. They just wrestled. They come in, they put their gear on, they go wrestle, they get their envelope, and they go home. While the promoter is there 8 hours before, setting up, everybody leaves, and we're there 3 or 4 hours later tearing down, and we broke even. But I've had several wrestlers say, Shawn, I have more respect for you now than I have ever had because I never knew how hard it was until I got on the business side of it and saw how hard it is just to break even. So fans, your $10 tickets and it really is kind of holding holding the business back from a standpoint of good promoters being able to sustain a business. We were lucky at prime time. We only broke even a couple of times. The rest of the time we were profiting. But every promotion's not like that. There's a lot of promotions out there that literally, if they can get 50 people in the door, they are happy. And if they get 50 people in the door at $10 a ticket, that's $500. How much was their rent? Probably $500. How did they pay the boys? Most likely out of their pocket.
Yeah. And there's a good example of that in here, Subligna. They run in a little church building that's way too far out to drive. But if they have 30 people, and most of those are the people that came with the wrestler, in there, there's no way they're turning a profit. And in a lot of cases, the boys aren't making anything or getting a $5 paycheck or maybe a hot dog and a handshake. So,
and why would you put your body through that for $5? And I'll tell you why. Because they love it.
Yeah.
They love the business. I love the business, contrary to popular belief from some people. I do. I love wrestling, and I will call your ass out when you do stupid shit. You do the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And because of that, we're the redheaded stepchild of around this wrestling area. But these guys are doing that for little of no money because they love the business. But if we could raise the ticket prices and people would pay it, then they could get paid their worth. And that also goes back to when these guys are at the show and they're setting up a table and they're setting up T-shirts and hats and frisbees and autograph pictures or whatever. Go buy something, because if you buy a TV, you're probably giving them more TV. I just saw that come up on the screen there. If you buy a T-shirt, if you bought a TV, that'd be great. But if you buy a T-shirt from these guys, they have made more money off that one transaction than they probably did while they were in the ring. So support these wrestlers and buy their T-shirts and their merch and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many great, we kind of talked a little bit earlier about the superstars in that ladder match we had. Zero and Chris Kamikaze was probably one of the best matches that happened that year. And so, and we'll give you Chris Kamikaze is recovering from an injury, so we'll give him a shout out there, and got a baby due pretty soon.
Yep,
so, September. So, Chris, we're going to give you a big shout out there and hope things are going well. Zero's got a thing going on with Ryan Marks right now, so I guess we'll see how that pans out for him. So, things are still in the works that are, those guys, they do love it and they stay in the ring and work on their craft. So I'm going to ask you a question. You may not know the answer to this because we didn't discuss this one. So your current reigning champion for PTW is still Big Andy, correct? Correct. So do you know if there's any future where Big Andy's heading at this point? Have y'all talked about that?
I keep up with Big Andy on Facebook, so I know that he's doing dates at Georgia Championship Wrestling. That's where me and a couple other people went from KLT. We went to Georgia Championship Wrestling in Buckhead, Georgia, to a show. Hey, Jason. Hey, that's a good question, and I want to talk about that.
I'll leave it up there.
Yeah, remind me of that one. We went to a show. It was a benefit for Ox. For those who don't know Ox, he's been the main ring guru for years, and he was in pretty bad shape with medical bills. So we went and did that, and saw Big Andy for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, we got to get this guy. It wasn't long after that show we left. And as soon as we started building the roster, I was like, we got to get Big Andy in here. And we did. And he was an immediate fan favorite. And I know he's doing Georgia Championship Wrestling again. Aside from that, I don't know. But I'll be the first one to point guys like him and Drago and Muhammad and Kamikaze and Zero and our Annihilation, our whole roster, I'd put them in touch with any promotion if they're looking for a good, entertaining wrestler that can draw a crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. I agree with that. Nick Andy's a great guy. Go ahead and answer that question.
All right. Jason Hawkins says, do you think anybody will pick up the Hall of Fame show? That Hall of Fame show is mine. That's my baby. And we started it at KLT, and we continued it at leave that one up too. Yes, leave that one up. We started at KLT. We continued it at Primetime, and I always said, I say it's mine, my baby, but it really I just put it together and ran with it. I kind of put it under the Superstars banner, but my first thing was I don't want this to end because we need to honor these guys that have come before us, Georgia legends. They need to be honored. So I made a call to Georgia Championship Wrestling, and I talked to the owner over there, and I was like, would you guys be willing to, we pass the torch to you and you run with it? And they were like, we'd be honored. So yes, the Georgia Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame will continue. I'm going to help them out to get that first year going because it's not a typical show, so they're going to need some help. But we do have every intention of continuing that, and I'm hoping that it's going to happen in November.
Okay, awesome.
But it most likely will happen in the Atlanta area.
Okay, awesome.
All right, Joey Ryan Martin says, the reason they didn't want Shawn Ambrose talking is because he was trying to run things and the people that were in charge didn't like it. So I don't know where we're talking about here. Are we talking about KLT?
That's what he's referring to.
Is it? I don't know who that is. So
Joey, will you confirm that you were referring to KLT or NWA or what promotion you are referring to in the comments, and I'll post that up.
So it's either KLT or Primetime because I've had no association with NAWA.
That's true.
But yeah, Shawn Ambrose is going to talk, and but here's the crazy thing about Shawn Ambrose.
Your answer.
KLT. All right. So here's the thing about Shawn Ambrose. Shawn Ambrose is a character. All right. And the booker, the person who puts the stories together, puts everything together that we're supposed to go out and do, tells the talent, which is me as a character, what to say and what to do. When you saw Shawn Ambrose in the KLT ring talking, yeah, that was me talking and giving my spin on what I was told to go out and do to further the narrative that we're trying to put in front of the crowd. Shawn Ambrose is a character. I am. I've been called an asshole, which I am. Even in real life, my wife will tell you. But I've been called a lot of things, and I not me, but Shawn Ambrose has been called those. But the real me, my name is not Shawn Ambrose, even though I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a grandfather. I work every day like everybody else does, and love my family. I like to go out and eat with it and do things with them, and spend time with them like everybody else out there. No different. But the Shawn Ambrose character is a very arrogant person. He's very authoritative, and he's going to speak his mind. And that person is not who I am. That person is who I became because someone developed my character with me. All right, so Joey says that's not being an ass. It's just there are too many people in charge that didn't want you there. Oh, I know that. Yeah. Joey, you're 100% correct. I know that they didn't want me there. They didn't want my favorite line from pretty much every movie that I've ever watched is Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. I have a shirt that I ordered that says you can't handle the truth. And I give the truth. When I will tell you this, even my ex-wife, who does not like me, will admit that when I am involved in something, I am all in. I'm full throttle, all the gears. I'm not going to half-ass anything. I'm also not going to hold back my opinion. I'm going to speak my mind. That tends to happen in wrestling. A lot of people don't like to speak their mind because they're afraid of who they're going to offend, or that they're not going to get booked, like I said earlier. I'm going to talk, and I'm going to say what I want to say. And that rubs people the wrong way. And if you don't like what I'm saying, I am happy to not be there, because quite frankly, most of the shows I have ever worked in my life at KOT or at Primetime, I never got paid one penny for it. I did it because I enjoyed it and it was fun. So firing me is not going to take food off my table.
Yeah.
But there is no denying. Well, you can deny it, but you'd be lying to yourself and everybody else. There is no denying the fact that when Shawn Ambrose showed up at KOT and walked through that ripped curtain with the glitter on it, and completely changed the look of that brand, there's no denying that came from me, because it hadn't happened before. Nobody had done that before. It was nobody, and that's my skill I was blessed with, is I can create that. So I did. Again, didn't get paid much. I got paid at KLT. I'm not gonna lie about that. I got paid, KLT pretty regularly, but there was a whole year there at KLT I didn't get paid a penny. And it's not about the money for me. I'm blessed with a good job, and I make plenty of money. I'm not worried about making $20. But I am going to speak my mind. And if you're unhappy with that and you don't like it, then I will happily walk away. It's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings one bit.
Absolutely. I think it's one thing me and you got along with, because we knew we were going to get the truth out of each other every time. And so nobody candy coated shit. And
I've told you exactly what I thought of you, and you've done the same to me. But here we are talking on your podcast, which we thought would never happen. So,
well, I'm going to ask you a question. And I may be opening myself up for something bad here. So we got obviously a lot of Rocky fans in here, but you conceptualized and actually made the first call that brought at that time the alpha male Rocky Shaw to KLT.
yep.
So, and I don't think I've ever asked you, what made you make that decision? What caused us to have that phone call?
So back in those days, there was a promotion running in Rome called, was it RWE or REW? RWE?
RWE.
Okay. Yeah, RWE. Those guys don't like me worth a damn either.
Me
they
either.
Also, Connor's on here. They don't like Connor worth a damn either.
Yeah.
He's been chiming in here and there. He used to give them hell on Facebook. It was funny as hell. I'd laugh my ass off. They get all tore up.
Yes.
But when we saw that promotion come into town, and we're KLT, and they started talking shit about us, and I'm a very competitive person, and I was like, you're not gonna talk shit about us. Number one, we outdraw you, and number two, your show sucks. You got a bunch of jabronis on your show. Looks like they just got off work and crawled in the ring and wrestled. So I looked at the roster. I looked at the page. I watched the promos, and I said, who is getting the most response here? And it was you. You were getting, because I've always said this about wrestlers. If you could be a great wrestler. You could do the flippy floppies, and you can look, got the best outfit you could possibly have. But if you suck at promos and you suck at in-ring entertainment, we'll say, I don't care how good you are at wrestling, because you're not going to draw the crowd. The crowd is drawn from an emotional connection between wrestler and fan. And if you dress in all black and you got oily hair and you got your neck, you're trying to grow a beard, but it's in spotches, a little here, a little there, and you get all your neck hair, and those guys are a dime a dozen. And I got messages every week. Hey, I'd like to get a booking. Sorry, you look like the 20 guys before you that wanted a booking. Go become unique. So when you become unique and you make a connection with the fan, then you get a following. And when you get a following, then the promoters want you, because obviously they want asses in seats. Out of everybody at RWE, I didn't see anybody there that had any kind of following like you had. And so I contacted the booker and I was like, we got to get this guy on board. And he's like, well, is he trained? Because the running joke was, we had talked to people over there and said, are you trained? And like, yeah, I'm trained. Who trained you? Oh, I just watched some YouTube videos. So when I talked to you, you admitted to me that I haven't had no formal training. I was like, okay, well, we'll take care of that because we got a school. And we brought you on board and we put you, with Mike and you got in there and you trained, and here you are. You're not the alpha male anymore. You're the 12 gauge. And
I am.
And you, and you, every time you came out, people went crazy.
Yeah.
And I've told you this many times, and you have not agreed with me. You're not the best wrestler, and you don't have the best look, but my God, have you got a connection with the fans?
Yeah, absolutely. I will agree with that.
You have built. You're the best self promoter I've ever seen, and you have built a brand that people know and follow, and that is what promoters want. You could suck at wrestling. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you just walk in the ring, lock up, push them out of the way, and 12 gauge them and call it a day. That's fine with me, because you got a connection with the fans.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing all that. That's something I had thought about while we were sitting here. So I was wondering if I was going to get myself buried there or not. So
no. Like I said, I'm honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing, but
yeah,
you have definitely come a long way since that first time that you walked into Mike's school, and
yeah.
Hell, I had you lined up for a comeback match. You remember that?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So I had the idea. We tried 4 times to get NAWA to work with us. They wouldn't do it. Finally, we got to the point where it was like, the hell with them. We ain't gonna do it anyway. They don't want to do it. We ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, here, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put my promoter's hat on, and I'm gonna put on a super show, and I'm gonna pull people from the old KLT days, not the NAWA days, the KLT days, and the in prime time. We're gonna have a KLT versus prime time super card, and I put together this massive card. It was gonna be awesome. And it didn't happen. But I had Rocky Shaw in there in his retirement match, because Rocky's had a lot of medical issues lately, and frankly I hope you could get back in the ring, but at the same time I'm hoping you don't. If it's going to kill you, I'd rather you not get in the ring. But I had this great scenario set up for you that was going to be great, and the fans were going to pop and they're going to love it. And I had you coming back in a retirement match, and it was going to be awesome. But again, didn't happen. It's just another opportunity lost. But
yeah. Well, we'll put that. We'll still in wrestling. We'll say never say never, but we'll see.
Right.
But yeah, so Stuart Bailey has a question for you here. Let's pull that up there. Whoop, so that's not the right one. There it is.
Who were some of the better promo guys? That is something that it can be taught. But you kind of gotta have a little, like a small percentage of the it factor for promos, that someone like I'm a promo coach. I can coach people through a promo and make it sound really good. if I've got that much and you're willing to learn, I can make you a great promo. And I'll give you an example of that is Tyrese Murphy was a horrible promo.
It's bad.
It was bad. And I told him, I was like, dude, this sucks. What I need to do different? I want to learn. And he was open book. He wanted to learn. And I taught him. And he'd send me stuff like, not do it again, but do it this way this time. By the time we parted ways, he was cutting a hell of a promo. But he came to me with the worst promo that you had ever seen. So who are the better promo guys? To be quite honest, it's the old guys.
Yeah. Now, I will give an honorable mention. I think Zero has.
Oh yeah,
he's got a lot of emotion. He comes at you hard.
Zero can cut a good promo from the old guy's standpoint. War Daddy cuts an old school crazy man promo, and it is fun to watch. Todd Zane can cut a promo to make you believe it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Atlanta, he's a hell of a promo guy. Again, old school guys that have been through they've been up and through the ranks. They've been doing this for 40 plus years. The one guy that did the best promo that had the most impact I've ever seen is Chris Kamikaze. For Superstars.
Oh, you're gonna bring the heat.
Oh, here it comes. Yeah. Chris Kamikaze cut a promo for Superstars when we were at the rec center in Rome. And it was so real and so impactful that one of the participants of that match, he dropped out. He's like, fuck that guy. He's not going to talk to me like that. I'm like, dude, he's cutting a promo. It wasn't real. I was like, yeah, it was. And so he dropped out. So Chris Kamikaze can cut a promo that will be so believable the boys will believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember all that. So, man, that was killer. Well, I don't know. I know you've got to work tomorrow, and so we're at about an hour and 17 minutes. So I guess we need to start kind of wrapping this up so that you can actually get some rest because, no one actually, we're not going to, dispose of it and tell everybody what you actually do in your secret job there. But, so Shawn, I want to first of all thank you for everything you've done for wrestling. Thank you for everything you and Primetime have done for me personally. The fans that are listening, there wouldn't be a 12 gauge without you guys. But I'm gonna hand it over to you to kind of say anything that you have to close out with, and kind of. I would say that you kind of alluded to it earlier, and maybe if your schedule allows, we might need to do a part 2 to this at some point in time because I don't know that you got all that you had to say out.
There's a lot more that I'm sure I forgot, but
so I'll leave that invitation open.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say that my journey since that phone call from Todd all the way up until yesterday has been incredible. There's been a lot of highs. There's been noticeable lows, mainly from just a standpoint of disagreeing with people. And people just frankly not liking me, which again, it bothers y'all a lot more than it does me. I have made wrestling is a brotherhood. I have said many times that when I walk into a locker room, I feel more love and support than I do when I walk into a church. It's that deep. We all are there for a common cause. We're all part of something very special because not everybody gets to do this. And even those that don't like me, I still love you because I respect what you do. The KLT folks, I appreciate Ricky for everything he did for me while I was there. I also criticize Ricky for not being very good at communicating. And there's some of the people in that inner circle that I was really close friends with that turned out that maybe I shouldn't have been, because, they turned on me. But at the same time, love them to death. Some of them were wrestlers, and I'm not gonna not give them their respect. The fans at KLT, they were awesome. They knew what I was going to say, and they chanted it back to me, and that meant the world to me, because it meant that I had gotten over with at least my catchphrase. And our primetime management team, I'm not going to mention the names because they asked me not to, but the owner, man, I love you to death. I think you're a legend in wrestling. And I watched you when I was a kid, and the fact that I got to work with you and not just behind the scenes, but in the ring as well, it's huge for me, and I appreciate it. And the rest of the team, those guys, I made a post about this, and I gave them all their due. But that's a brotherhood too. At prime time, we had no drama. If drama came up, we got rid of them. It was a great family atmosphere, and I love all those guys. And I'll miss it. I'm not gonna lie. It's I worked hard along with our team to build it to what it was, and it may continue. Like I said, I'm not the owner. I'm not in charge. I'm not part of Primetime anymore. I'm just a fan. Watching things happen. But make no mistake, if I see some what I like to call fuckery going on with these promotions, I'll be the first one to say something. Because number one, it needs to be said, but number two, it's entertaining to get under y'all's skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I'm going to thank you, Shawn, for your time, and hope you got some birthdays to celebrate this weekend. So happy birthday! I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to expose any of those for you.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys. I wanted to. The participation, I don't know if you can see, Shawn, but we've had almost steady number the whole night that actually have followed through with us the whole hour plus. So this is probably the most interactive, I guess how you're going to say that, podcast that I've ever had. You guys have been asking questions the entire night. It's awesome. I love that. If you have a chance, find me on YouTube, Facebook, like and follow. Costs you absolutely nothing, but means the world to me. On a charge side, I do have my TikTok is open on a subscription only basis. Now is available for $2.99 a month, as well as my Facebook. You can join the Gun Club on the Facebook at $2.99 a month and get exclusive content. So, with that being said, for the most hated man in Georgia and Alabama history, Shawn Ambrose and the 12 gauge Rocky Shaw. Till next time, beware the 12 gauge.